everybody, welcome back. It is day 11. Thanks for hanging out with me. I just watched my day 1 video and I was like, oh, it's so long. So I think I'll probably intentionally or unintentionally try to get through them faster today. But let's see, make sure you have got a candle if you want one. It's just nice. A nice beverage. I've got a cup of black coffee. If you've got your little booklet, we're going to use that today. And look at that. Look how many days are crossed off. That's getting fun. And we have got a 3" by 3" piece of watercolor paper, a pencil, a paintbrush, a kneaded eraser, paints, your towel, your water, and some kind of a heat gun or an old hair dryer. Any of that will work out great today. And we're going to talk today about line weight. Let's see. Day 11, if you want to go to day 11. Use a thicker line to help indicate a light source or where a shadow may be. This concept can be used with paints or when adding a detail layer over watercolor with ink. So I've been thinking about how exactly to explain this one. It's just something more, I would say, probably in I use it both with watercolor and in sketching, but really it's just the idea that if you were to picture a window and you would look at a window and then you would see at the top part underneath of that top of the frame, there's going to be a bit of a shadow. Underneath the trim, there's going to be a bit of a shadow. So wherever you would imagine, if there's a light source coming up here, anything that's creating just a tiny bit of a shadow, if you use the thicker line there or you use a strip of darker paint there, it's just going to give more of an impression of realism. So it just kind of works. I will show that to you real quick on a window and then we'll get into our sketch for the day, our drawing of the day, which is going to be this, a little birdhouse. And it's nice because it has a bit of a window and it has a roof to it, so we can practice line weight a little bit, and also we get a birdhouse out of it. So all right, let's do this. Okay, so the idea of the window, and if we were to do this in paint here, I'm going to put a little bit in here so it can kind of dry while I talk. If this was our windowsill and let's say it had that white trim to it, first we'll do it with a brush. And this is just, you don't have to do this, you can just watch. In a second, we'll paint a birdhouse. So if I were to take this darker color, and this paint might be wet still, so ignore that, but right here, if I run a darker line, it's going to give the impression that this trim over here had a light source. Let's say light source is up here or whatever, but this is producing a shadow. And the same thing, it wouldn't exactly be here. It would be down here if this is one of those little ledges you can put a plant on. And a lot of times if I do something like this, I like to wet my brush and sort of fade it out like that, so it just sort of disappears. But something like this, and let's say the light source was here, maybe it's also going to be a little bit on the left. So this is the idea with paint, and I shouldn't be probably winging this so much because now it's wet, but I'm going to still do it anyways with the Sharpie, just so you can see that with line weight too. Okay, if we were to, let's say we were to just, everything like this is a regular pressure on whatever pen you're using. Right now, this is an ultra fine point Sharpie. And in a second, I will just show you. So that's one regular line. And in these same places, it would be the same thing where I'm going to just darken it. I'm going to give it a heavier line weight right there. And I'll do the same thing. So watch what's happening. Try to observe it. It really does give the idea that there's a shadow going on there, and I could do the same here a little bit, and it's the weight that's making the difference. And I could fill this in, or maybe these were going to be white, I don't really know. And line weight, that's line weight. It matters, it's fun to play with. I would say play with your sketching and see what you come up with. For now though, we're going to get into this one, and we can get out our pencil and our eraser, and we're going to do a little birdhouse. Birds and birdhouses, I don't know why I love them so much, but I feel like so does, I don't know, not everyone else, but a lot of people do. This is off-centered here. If we were to find center on our piece of paper, and maybe just go tiny bit to the left, Honestly, don't. Just put it in center. We're going to like it better, I think. And let's just do this gentle line down the center. Like this. And that's just going to be a guide for a minute because let's just do the observing like we usually do. This has the roof to it, which really is like a triangle, but it's divided up into 4 different layers. And instead of straight lines on the bottom, there are these little lines that kind of come up, which give the idea of this being like, what's that called on a roof? Not shutters, shingles, like shingles, okay? And then if this was the center going right down, the circle would be half on either side of the line. And these lines should be sort of like symmetrical. See how they should sort of match each other on either side. That's the part that we really need symmetrical, the base of it probably as well. And then all the rest of this, we don't need to worry about it anymore. Let's get into it. I think I could lay my pinky finger up here. That's about how much space I need for the chain. So if I do that up here and put a little mark, that's great. Look at this. I'm just going to try to use stuff. I could, if I press my thumb so it's like pretty like wide, you know, it would be about that. If you want to use that as a guide, great. If you don't want to, no big deal. And let's turn that into a triangle. So if anything, they're going to dip inward a slight amount when we do them. Let's first see if we can get the width that we want. Oh, I think that might be too far. Let's see. Let's see. I think that might be a little bit too far, but I can't know until I start getting it on there. So like always, we'll start out wonky. I think that's pretty good though. Try to get a little closer for you. Okay, I think that's pretty good. And we will then, yeah, I'm not going to divide it up yet. Then let's just put a spot where we want the bottom of, let's call this the pot and this the saucer, right? So the bottom of the pot, I don't even know if it's quite as tall as the upper part here. You can do something like this. Let's try to make it equal on this side of the line and this side of the line. Something like this. We're pressing lightly with our pencil. And right about, actually, let's go ahead and connect our lines. So let's maybe put a dot here and a dot here, looking that there's equal space to the edge. And we'll turn our paper and we're going to connect it. I already adjusted it a little bit. So you're just, if you see something that you think should be changed, in fact, my adjustment was bad. Like this is good, and I'm gonna come basically there, and I'm gonna come out on both sides and down a little. So I'm gonna kind of like curve it tight, turn my paper and connect it into a straight line. Something like this. It's gonna be wonky for a second. This will go down on both sides and connect across. Now you'll look at it and be like, let's find out what's weird about it. Mine needed to be higher. So I'm changing it. You do the same. I think sometimes when I break it down into like an orderly way, I just don't do it the same as I would otherwise, you know. I think these having a good angle on the sides is important. I think that's also, it's like cute. We like cute. Okay, I think that that's pretty good. And now let's leave this line in here for a minute, and we're gonna get this circle in before we do anything else. It's going to start right at the base of the roof, but we want some space underneath of it before we get to that bottom line. So it's like here. Might even be smaller because we need it to be like a symmetrical circle with space on either side. That's like the same amount of space. I always like starting out a day with art, and it is like first thing in the morning. So that feels good. Okay, and we're going to do this aura, this line that follows alongside of another line. And that's good. At this point, we can erase the line that goes through everything. Excuse me. I have a middle schooler, and he's been talking about what happens if you hold in your sneezes. I don't know the answer, so. All right, so when we get into this part, we want to divide it into 4 different layers. I think you can just start by guessing at a layer. But what I like is to pull it out to the sides a little bit, so you get this little edge. And then I'm gonna leave it. You'll notice I don't always do details until I like placement of things. So that's 1, I'm kind of looking, this is 2. I'm gonna pull that straight line across, but also bring it out on the sides. Then I'll do it 1 more time here. I'll have my eraser out probably, but because we're also going to paint over this and do that black ink, I think we're going to be okay. So from here, I'm going to start to like just kind of come up and down, just to create these little things. I actually don't really care where they are. If you want to be really perfect about it, you might look that they're somewhat similar sized. That's just up to you. I'm kind of coming with my pencil up and then pulling across like this, just to sort of divide it into these separate sections. However you feel like doing that is great. Maybe a big one, maybe you want a little bit of space between it somewhere, that's okay. Don't overthink it too much, just see what happens. You've got your eraser, and if you don't like it, you can just, you know, change it. Take as long as you need on the sketch because, you know, that's where you've got your eraser. I'm gonna just put like half a loop up top, and then let's do a skinny oval, and then a wider oval, a skinny oval, and then a wider oval, and maybe the beginning of another skinny one. Anything like that, it's just gonna look like, you know, you have like interlocking chain like that. Okay, I like it. We're doing awesome so far. I love ones that have a good little sketch in them. So from here, I want to focus mainly on the birdhouse. If you don't want to do these flowers on either side, no problem. But I love how these flowers make it look. And so let's just look at them. They're like little stems, like anything else. We're going to take and pull out that stem line first. Maybe this way, another one down. So I kind of can break it into like 4. And then we're going to start to fill in from there, creating leaf shapes and some sort of circles that we can fill in. And you can be thinking about your colors today. Remember, you can always do anything you want with your colors. I'm going to start kind of at the center and take this one up and away. Somehow curved and up to that right corner. And then at the base of it, let's kind of fall down a little. And now I want similar, but like not exactly the same on this other side. So for this one, I'm going to maybe curve it more like that. But it's up to you. Just kind of whatever feels good. And we'll do a little one that comes this way. And then we'll see. We're going to like see how it goes when we get in here and see if we want to change anything. Okay. At the ends, I like to go ahead and put a leaf. So let's do that to start, because that'll give us a little bit of like placement. And I want to start with this one on the right. It has a leaf going out sort of, what do you call this? 90 degrees from there, whatever. You can put a little leaf at the bottom. And then let's put a round circle. Don't make these too tiny, because I do think we want a chunk of color in there. And then I'm going to do one that goes to the right. Now, if it overlaps a line like this, just realize we're going to want to erase that. I had to put my hair up real quick. I can't take it any longer. Okay, perfect. And we're going to get a couple more of these circles. Let's put 2 maybe next to each other here. And I don't know, I want to do kind of a little handful of leaves. I want it to seem sort of filled in. And then I'll go to this one down here. It's got a nice one that goes this direction. And let's make this one even bigger if you can. We want to see that purple or whatever color you choose. In in-person classes, I'm always like, unless you want to do another color, like just reminding people constantly that they have choice. And there's these 2 sisters who come to a lot of classes, and by now they know what I'm going to say. And hi, Hazel and Iris. And and so they'll be like, unless you don't want to. And like, they're absolutely right every time. This artwork is yours. Okay, so now I'm looking over here and just trying to kind of match it up, but really all we need is some leaves and some circles. So any way that you'd like to do it, see where they fit. Don't worry about these lines because we'll just erase them. So I'm loading in some of these, and I like to get a good amount of the flowers. I think it's easy to do a bunch of leaves, and then sometimes we're like, oh, wait a second. I could have done more flowers on there. Okay, this feels good to me. I actually want this one to come out just a little bit more this way. So I want you to look at it, and how does it feel to you? Is there any space you want to fill in? And then from here, let's go ahead. I'm taking my kneaded eraser and I'm gonna like pinch the end of it so it's nice and small. And then I wanna get in to any of those little leaves that just now have like lines through them. And you might erase part of your leaf, that's okay, because you'll like know where it is now. And you can just refill it in. Okay. I feel like I should also say hi to Marie, who comes with Hazel and Iris a lot. So hi, Marie. Marie is my middle name. All right. Beautiful. I like it. Do you like yours? I hope so. Let's go ahead and do these flowers that are coming in on the side. And remember, we'll do like kind of one up like this. And then from there, find where you want to pull out these little stems. Like this, or whatever it is you want. I do like there to be space to at least fit a few leaves on the left side of the stem. So if you wanted to erase yours and scooch it to the right so you have space for some of these, I think that's nice. I'll put this one like that. So you see, I just put 2 flowers, and all I did was kind of put it nice and tight so I could fit one there. And I'm not worrying about it being exactly the same as this. What I want is a long stem, some other stems, some flowers, and some leaves. However you see fit. And for mine, I like that one today. I don't know why, but I think this one is like so charming. So I'm going to start putting in some of these stems on the right side. But first, let's look at them. We have some going this way. 1, 2, 3 of them going this way. We have one that kind of comes straight up, and then some extras. All right, so that's us sort of making sense of what we're seeing. So what if we actually start with like a fluffy circle for a minute? Then it'll give us an idea of like, okay, that's where that's going to be. Let's get some of these in. Maybe another one plus the stem. Now, we usually don't do it this way, but because I didn't want our stems to go too close to that bird feeder, it's like a safe little way to begin. And then now from here, whichever way feels better to you. So I'm going to run a stem kind of up this way and then give it this fuzzy top. And I just kind of want this like little grouping of stems, leaves, and puffballs. You can do that. Puffball, and just like wherever the stem is, if you don't know where it should end it behind a puffball or off the page, or you can take it all the way down to the bottom. And I'm just like looking at this one, adding a few of these in. I like this. Let me see, what do I like about this one? I like how there's a puffball with a leaf on top, and I like that I can kind of see this one kind of gets in there a little bit more. So I'm going to move this. You guys just look at, whenever you're trying to look at something, what do you like about it? Then that's the thing you for sure want to fit in. And that's what matters the most for you. This feels like good, but if we get to it and we're like, ah, something's off or whatever, we want to add more flowers or more leaves, we'll just add them in. So if you have lines that went through any of the puffballs or the leaves, let's get those out. And we are now at the point where we are looking at our sketch, checking it. Is there anything we don't want to see any longer? Maybe this top part's a little messy. I'll lighten up things I don't need. Make sure you don't have any flowers or leaves that have lines through them. And then we'll kind of wrap this part up. I'm going to get my pencil and my eraser out of my way because I don't need them any longer. And we are going to go ahead and mix up our paints. So Oh, good. I've got paper towel close by. Sometimes I have this thing wiped off ahead of time and sometimes I do not. So a reminder, you just take your paper towel, can dip it right into your water jar and squeeze it out on the side. I find that works pretty well. And then I'm just going to clean this whole side off. At home, a reminder, you can just like get your paintbrush wet and rehydrate these and just work with them. Or you can use these to create your colors. If you want to be really thrifty about it, what's kind of cool is like if you're always doing that, you're not wasting any paint. But these paints like last pretty well anyway. Okay, got this, got my spray bottle. I'm gonna give them a little spray. And then we're gonna start to, just like always, mix up some puddles to get us the colors that we want. So something for you to think about. Here's a total different color, is like red with red. And if you like that, then go for it. If you want all purples and pinks, great. All greens and browns. I mean, I don't know what colors you like, but think creatively about it. You can do anything that you want. For this one, okay, I just saw this window again and like it works, doesn't it? It's cute. Okay, I hope that that was an effective lesson. It was obviously quick. I like this color a lot, and to me it is like a bluish color mixed with a little bit of green and maybe some black, and I'm going to test that out. I can't remember. Yeah, that pretty much is going to get us there. And then we're adding water to get it lightened up. So reminder is that with watercolor, anytime you want your colors lighter, you're going to add water. So this is good enough for me. It's probably not exactly the same, but since we don't need that specificness today, I'm going to let that be. I'm going to just quick tell you what I did since I zoomed right through that. I took a wet brush and I went right into my paints with that wet brush, grabbed a color, grabbed another color and mixed them. I added water so it was a puddle. See how big this is? That's a good size. We don't want it to dry while we work. And then we also want, so this is like the idea of it being like a terracotta pot, you know, like that look at least. So for me, the fifth one down on the top right is like a nice burnt sienna color, but that's not always the color I want. So I like to grab it, look at it, and maybe I want to add a little bit of brown or a little bit of orange. Just depends on what color you want to see. Because I'm going to do a brighter orange over here, I want this one to be a little bit more dull. Like I want the flowers to stand out more. So I am going to add a little bit of brown plus water. Now, just remember that fifth one down from the top right, if that's the one you grabbed, because we are going to take from our paints a little bit when we paint that one. These are like such calming colors. I love that. And we're going to get whatever color green, and then you can be thinking about your flowers. So for green, I'm just going to suggest this fifth one up from the top right. If you don't have that, I like a green mixed with just a little bit of brown. See what you like though. And if I'm rushing through this too fast, you can absolutely pause it at any time. Get your colors the way you like them. Test them out on paper if that's what you like to do. And then we'll be ready. Notice this puddle is not as big because as we look at what we're going to do, we don't need that much. My color's also a little bit darker because I do want to see these like pretty defined. To me, I don't want any of them to be like really, really pale. And I like all the green being the same color. If you wanted to do 3 different colors for green, you could do that. And now let's get into the color of our flowers. I love the purple. I think with green and orange, having purple, that's like your secondary colors. You know, primary is red, blue, and yellow. So these would be like secondary. So I love that. And I'm going to get some purple. I'll take from that third one up in the center. And I think I might just add a tiny bit of pink to it. I'm just going to play with it. Make sure you like it. If it is way too purple, you can add the teeniest bit of yellow or that mustard yellow and see what happens. Kind of turns it into like a plum color. I want to for sure get this bright orange. And so I'm going to do kind of like the tip of my brush and then maybe mix one of the lighter oranges and one of the darker oranges. You just pick an orange that you like though. That really is what's important. It's not that you match me, but that you find something you like. We are rolling along and I am so digging this color palette today. And then I want some kind of blue here. To me, this one's kind of neutral. So I'm gonna grab from this navy blue. It's called Payne's Gray. It's second one down from the top center if you have this set. And if you don't, maybe if you grab a blue that you like and then it's brighter than you want, you could do just the teeniest bit of black into it. And just black goes a long way. So be careful if you're gonna mix. And make sure you like those colors. I cannot love these colors more today. They're perfect to me. I hope you think the same thing about yours. All right, we're gonna get into it here. So the steps we're gonna do is we're gonna fill everything in, basically coloring book style, where we're just filling them in today. There is a little bit of detail on top of the blue. Anything like this where you see a hard line means it was layer number 2, which we'll have a little bit of with the orange flowers as well. It looks like I touched these blue flowers with a navy blue while they were wet, so I'll try to remember that one. And for now, we're going to just begin. So because I don't want to forget this one, I'm going to just darken that a hair. Let's start with the pot. So picture it like the pot and the saucer. You can go right over what's going to be black because light to dark, it doesn't matter. And it saves us time because we don't have to go around it carefully. But we do want to go around all of our leaves and our flowers because watercolor is transparent. You won't get those pure colors if you don't. So this might be a little bit tedious, but I want to do it with this color. And then if you're able to, we're going to touch the wet paint with like burnt sienna, a darker color right underneath of here. I don't know if you can tell, I've done that on this one, and it gives the idea of a little bit of a shadow underneath of the roof. And I also darkened up right within that saucer. So we will take our paint. Tip of your brush for the edges. Remember right here, we're just gonna go right over that because we don't care. And when you get down here, remember to press very lightly on the tip of your brush when you need to go around things. I won't worry about stems at all. I'm gonna go right over stems, but I'll go around the circles and the leaves. And I want to kind of fill this in efficiently. So if you're going very slow and like careful right now, my challenge to you is to actually speed it up a little because it's tricky because you have tight spaces, but also we want to do a wet on wet technique anyway, right? So if you can kind of get that filled in, don't worry too much about it. I'll take my brush without adding water. I'm just grabbing some paint. Zoom in here, and I'm going to go right underneath of this roof. Okay, right underneath the roof like this. And you will see as it dries too, because it'll look slightly different when it dries, that this will give the impression that this roof is creating a shadow, and so you're seeing darker color on the top here. You need to watch and see how far it goes. If it just went all the way down, you have too much water. If it didn't even spread, it's probably because your back layer was already dry. All right. You can kind of do a little bit more if you need to, if it went too far. And then I want to get within this saucer. So you could wait till it's totally dry for this part because we actually don't want it to go on the front. We just want it on this inside part. So you can try like this, but if that paint is going where it shouldn't, then you can take your dryer. Yeah, okay, so mine's going a little bit where it shouldn't, but I can clean my brush and dry it and just sort of lift it out. Any wetter than this, and I would need to dry it first and add darkness into that inside part. But I think we're gonna just dry it right now anyway, so we can go into the roof and get these like bigger parts covered. So grab your hair dryer or your craft heat gun and we'll give it a quick dry. Now I'm going to, I know that this is dry because I don't see the light reflecting. I'm going to grab that lovely sort of soft bluish gray color and I'm going to pretend that this whole thing is just one shape and I'm going to fill it in. Make sure you bring the tip of your brush out to those edges so that we see them, because I think that's a cool sort of feature on this, is that it really is divided up into these 4 different layers. Light on the tip of your brush when you're getting in tight spots. All right, my paint is a little darker in some spots, so I just cleaned my brush in my water jar, touched it to my towel, and now it's basically the same color, which is what I want. And from here, I can start to fill in the green So there's green everywhere, and because I haven't painted any flowers yet, I know it's not touching anything. So it's sort of like a safe one. For this one, remember to keep your water under control. So this was already a smaller puddle like this, which I like. Let's keep it pretty small, and we're going to be using basically the bottom third of this big brush because that's going to help you just have like a nice control. So for these ones, I'm going to run the paint right along where the stems are, and I will fill in the leaves at the same time. Oh, that one got a little thick. So to avoid really thick stems, press very lightly on the tip of your brush. All right, and we're just kind of filling in. Oh, I forgot, for this one, you don't need to go along the stems at all. So I will avoid them, even though I kind of did it on one. I'm going to pretend like I didn't. And I'm just going to fill in these little leaves. And since they're so tiny, this paint kind of goes a long way. If you're feeling out of control, remember our watercolor rule, you probably have too much water. And if it's drying while you work, you probably just, or it's like annoying to fill these in, it might just be because you don't have enough water. And on these ones over here, again, I will do the leaf and the stem, both. Okay, so when you need to refresh your paint because it runs out, remember, just put the tip of your brush in the water. If you get a whole brush full of water, you're gonna like lose control again. Hopefully you're starting to feel a little better about watercolor, and these little tips are starting to add up. Okay, I think that feels good, but like, look at this big space. I'm gonna add another leaf right there because now it seems empty. And I might add another one later, we'll see. Also, while I'm here, I might just widen up any of these stems where I can really see the top. I'm gonna just add like this, just like an extra little sort of ball at the base, just to give it like that, just that look of it widening up before the bloom. Okay, and now this is probably dry, but I'm not sure, so we'll just dry it real quick. I'm just gonna stay on for this one, but I gotta move it because it doesn't reach. All right, and we're going to now want a little bit of a darker color. So if we look at this roof here, we just have a little bit of another layer. So you can add whatever color you took to get here or something similar. It does not have to be perfect, but like a little darker. And just take a second to mix it into a color that you like. This is slightly different, and that's okay. And if you want to skip this part and just do it with the ink, you can do that too. But I have very little water, and I'm just kind of come like this, like where the bottom is and where they come up. And this is the idea of line weight, but let's not worry about it for this. You'll see it more with the ink. That's like all I need is just something simple. Notice I did it quick and I did it a little messy. And I think that's what I wanted because I don't want it to be really perfect on this one. And that's all you need for that part, and that's gonna dry. Now we're gonna kind of just sort of pop through here and add coloring book style. We'll just get filled in on our flowers. So I'm gonna start with the purple because I just wanna see it first. And I have very little water on my brush or paint on my brush. Otherwise I would lose control. So just this little bit. And for some of them, I want them just a little bit darker, I'm noticing. So I'm just gonna quick grab a little bit more of darker paint and I'll just darken a few of them up. Oh no, I wanna do them all now. Okay, nice and dark. And then I'll get into my blue next. And this is just, these details don't matter too much because we're gonna go with ink over the top as well. Oh, remember on this one I said that while I was doing it, I must have touched the base of each flower with that navy blue. So I am currently taking my brush like this and just getting like just this, barely any in there. But because this is wet, I'll touch it and it'll just have a little bit of a bleed. If it's already dry, it'll be hard lines, and that is okay too. So you can tell these ones were pretty dry. I can add a little bit of water to my brush and just kind of soften it. Unnecessary. You can do that any way you want. And then we'll get into these orange flowers. Make sure you've cleaned your brush and you've got an orange that you like. Let's try not to have these be too wet, because then we can just kind of go over them in a second with a darker color too. Remember, a brush is just about pressure. So lean into it when you have thicker spaces and, you know, lift off of it a little bit when you have smaller spaces. So remember, I wanted this to be really bright and this is dull. That's because I wanted to go over the top of it again. So now I'm getting a brighter, darker puddle, though it's very small still. And I'm just actually going to add a little bit of a darker color somehow, somewhere on these. And it can go over most of it. If you really saw the darker color a lot more than the lighter, great. And don't worry exactly about where it's at. Just kind of blob it right on the top. It's gonna be cute. I think we're at the point where, let's see, we just need to fill in this black circle with paint, and then everything else is going to be ink. So I know the sketch takes longer sometimes, but now we're just kind of bopping along. I will take the tip of my brush and grab some black paint. I'm getting a bunch of paint on my brush, and I want this little puddle. See how tiny that is? I'm only using the tip of my brush in the water. So it's as if we're using a tiny brush, right? Because we're not using all that's available to us in this belly. And I want control because I don't want to go outside of the circle. I actually did too much on this one, and like, oh dear, the circle got a little wonky compared to that one. And that's okay. It happens, and probably no one else will care about it, but I'm going to use the tip of my brush to go really carefully along the edges. And it's black, so it does feel like a little bit more pressure, I think. And I'm going to turn my paper even. Tip of your brush along the edges. That's where the detail matters, right? And then the rest is just that it has color on the inside. And then you're good to go with that. So we'll quick dry it. You can get your paints out of the way, and we're going to get into it with our ink. These are the ones that I usually give as options. A nice felt tip pen is great. It's a little bit of a thinner line. I like a little thicker, so I'm going to use this ultra fine point Sharpie. Anything that you've got is fine. Just be careful that it's not the kind that's going to transfer ink onto your hand, which will then get onto your paper. And we are going to start with just doing this. So when we talk about line weight, let's initially ignore it. We'll just fill in everything. We'll go back on our second round and worry about line weight there. So for now, we're just hanging out together and just filling this out. And I like to start at the top. Actually, there is no rhythm to what I like to do, so ignore that. For this roof, I don't fill in the whole thing. So see how there's gaps on the sides? That doesn't bother me at all. And that's how I liked it. So think about how you like it too. Here, I'll do it like this so you can see both. And just getting that shape on there. But don't go over your lines at all, because we're going to do that for some things in a minute. If you hate the concept of line weight and you're never going to use it, that's okay. We're just doing a birdhouse today. I don't really hang bird houses, but I like to have bird feeders. And I just filled mine up not long ago, and the squirrels are such a fan. the birds are also, but yikes. And that's okay. We like the squirrels too. Okay, I'm trying to be really careful that this line matches up to my circle. And notice I paused for a minute. I want to make sure I get this perfect leaf shape in first, and maybe this one as well. And then I go in between it with these lines, because you can't erase Sharpie. So, and maybe I'll even just go through here. I'm going to stop, and I'm going to do all the flower first, so that I can just fill in the pot. but that the pot will never interrupt my flowers. Flowers would be like in the front, so it wouldn't make sense the other way. And for the stems, I'm just running the Sharpie along the stem. But we love the birds around here. We have a hummingbird feeder and I think like 5 bird feeders. They're not always full of seed because they eat it so fast, but I like it. All right, I've got all this filled in, so now I'm looking for where are those lines that I initially created, and it's helpful for me to do this one first and swoop around. I don't even want a line between that, so that's great. And then I'll do these sides and then connect them this way. It's cute, right? Oh my goodness. You could leave it here and let these be sort of like not the focus, right? They don't get the detail, but I like it all detailed. So I'm going to just do these little fluff balls, taking my pen and just kind of, you know, lifting it, moving it. And I'm going to just do the ink right over the green. This is all personal preference. If you have a different way to do it, you do it your way, or do a bunch of them and change it every time. You could change the shape of the flowers for each flower. I'm not gonna. And if there's a flower that you want to go in front of another one, just kind of keep that in mind so that it doesn't overlap, you know, in a way that you don't want. Trying to think of a question I want answered about birds. What's a good question about birds? Maybe like, what's your favorite type of bird that comes to your house on any sort of a regular basis? We have a lot of woods in my backyard, so mine is woodpeckers. I think they're so pretty. I was gonna say we're done, but no, we're not done because line weight, right? So same idea with this, where we've got that darker bit where there is shadow. And so we're going to do the same thing and go like, well, where would there be shadow today? If the sun is just say somewhere up top, you'll notice that on these, I did darken up the lines under each one of these like this. Now this is optional. You don't have to do this, but it's fun to sort of see if your eyes can catch what's happening. And you might do it in the creases too. To me, the window is the best example, but in here, if you look at here, I darkened it up on the top here because this is an opening into a space, and it just made sense to me to add some right in here. So I did. You do it if you like it. And then down here, we want some on the bottom. And under the leaves, if you wanted to, you can darken them up. Just think bottom. Whatever's on the bottom of the flowers or the leaves. I don't think this is the best example for this, but I am watching it before my eyes. As I do this, I do see it changes the effect, and though it might be slight, these things add up. And so that's why with these like 30 tips and tricks, they absolutely add up. And I like it. So I don't know if I want to sign it on the front or the back. You could do initials maybe on this one, like something tiny over here. Or you can date it on the back. Oh my goodness, we did it. So one of these is printed on like a photo paper, so it's a little bit thicker, but I love to do a swatch like this. And fun fact, this is how I started painting. I did 40 days in the beginning and I never turned back. So I hope that's the same for you if that's what you want. Don't forget that you can share on Facebook at Audrey Shantz Art and use the hashtag Audrey's Art Club so we can see each other's work. I think you guys are awesome. I can't believe you stuck with me this long already. I will see you tomorrow.